We're also going to be live on Facebook. So we have everyone with us now. I welcome you all to the second day of Pink City Design Confluence, Form, Reform, Transform. The Confluence seeks to create an interface between education and industry sectors to debate on how design technology education can be leveraged to support the emerging economies of the world. This is our fourth session of research paper panel with the theme Harmonious Livability. We have presenters who will share their innovative ideas in the field of design. Each panelist will have 10 minutes to present, and at the end, we will take questions. We are really looking forward to a knowledgeable session, and to moderate the program, we have with us Dr. Patsy Perry on the panel. So glad to have you, ma'am. Ma'am is a reader in fashion marketing, Manchester Fashion Institute, Manchester. I welcome you, ma'am, on behalf of Arch College and would like you to take the program forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to be here and moderate this interesting panel on harmonious livability. So we have four speakers for the panel today. We have Shailini Seth Amin, who is founder and senior partner of Moral Fibre, a social enterprise working to reinvent and revive khadi. We have Uma Prajapati, who is a visionary and founder of a conscious fashion brand, Upasana, and lives in Auroville, which I find fascinating. I've heard about that actually. And then we have Professor Rocío Martín, who is a PhD initiated on the Commonwealth Programme in Sri Lanka and has worked in relevant projects as an architect, Madrid Riverfront project, and lots of other interesting UNESCO projects. And then we also have Ratika, Bhargava, and Riccha, Khetan, who are two sisters and owners of Cauldron Sisters, are food consultants and cookbook authors. And they set up restaurants and food businesses for people and have been received several awards for excellence in their work. So I'm very pleased to welcome all the speakers today. I think we can start off first of all with Shailini, if you're ready, and you have 10 minutes, please. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and seeing all the wonderful people. I have heard about the event from some friends and designers, so I'm really looking forward to presenting with the team. I wish this program was not virtual and real. It would be so nice to see the work, because being a designer, you just really want to see the stuff rather than just talk about it. So that's my lot. Can somebody present the slides for me and I'll start the work?
Yes, ma'am. Give me a moment.
All right. Okay. My presentation today is about our rich heritage of artisanal fabrics and its relevance in today's context. We feel that when the whole world is going so machine-oriented, technical, I think the working with hands and that whole human touch with hands, along with working with nature, I think has so much more relevance. So that's something that I'm going to talk about once my slides come up.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry. Is it okay for you to share the presentation with me here again on my email ID?
Oh, let me see what I can do. Or if you can, I can't see some of the signs on this one about the presentation and all that. Otherwise, I can start from here.
Share screen, ma'am. Can you see share screen option?
No, I can't. That's my problem. This one is...
You could also drop it in the chat box, ma'am. I'll try it from here then.
All right. Okay.
Let's see if that works for us.
Sure. Meeting time. Done it.
Shailini, ma'am.
Yes.
If you could email it to me again. And meanwhile,
Okay.
if we can start
with somebody else. Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
All right, yeah.
We'll fix it meanwhile. So
let's start then with Uma. Uma, would you be ready to present, please? And Uma is going to be presenting on a clean ocean drive. Do you have your slides ready if you're going to use them?
ma'am, you are muted. Uma, ma'am.
Thank you so much for pointing that out. So I'm going to tell this. I have shared one small video with Megha, and I hope that she gets a time to put it up on the screen. Meanwhile, I'm going to do a small briefing of what I'm going to present, and it's actually a storytelling story of upcycling project in India. Oh, I see Shailini's screen is working. So Shailini, would you go first? I can see the screen.
You can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Okay, so I'm seeing your screen. Great, we made it. So I go ahead with it. So this project of upcycling, which became a women empowerment project, and currently it is on UN page. Shailini, you have to stop sharing the screen then.
Okay. How do I do it?
Ma'am, please click on stop share.
All right.
On the top. On
Yeah.
the top. You will see
I'll
it.
do that.
Yeah. On the top. Yeah, perfect.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So this is a story of a little doll called Tsunamika. And Tsunamika is a very tiny piece of textile doll made from waste in South India post-tsunami in 2004. And by now we have 5 million plus doll made. It has gone to more than 80 countries, became a symbol of hope, had become a livelihood for 100 ladies, even that it is 15 years old. And right now it is on UN page as Clean Ocean Drive. And it is India's entry. Is anybody got access of the video I have shared? Can you play it please for me? Then I'll take up from there. And it is so nice to present this paper. Last year I was there, not last year, before COVID, I was there for the design conference in Jaipur and we had so much fun. So I truly agree with Shailini when she says it would be nice to be there physically and do this sharing. It's really very creative atmosphere. And I'm very grateful to Archana who invited me to prepare the paper, which I didn't think of that I should be doing it. And I did it for her. And I'm really, really grateful that it made me revisit my journey of Tsunamika project for 15 years of work and present it as a paper, and how a small upcycling initiative ends up on UN page. So yeah, go ahead. It started from the beginning. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Art, for playing it. So the story of this little doll, which is in my hand, and she's called Tsunamika. And what is important is not just a doll. And of course, she's upcycled. And most of the time when we say upcycling, we try to add some value into that as a product point of view. What in her case has happened, that Tsunamika became a symbol of hope. So from this huge gap from being a waste material of tiny piece of textile to becoming a symbol of hope had been a greatest psychological or emotional value addition apart from the physical part of it. And now that we are repositioning it as her as an ocean goddess, if you see her in the presentation, that's her, the latest avatar, which went on when I I was asked on UN panel as a guest speaker to present Coastal Women Empowerment Project from India, and what inspired me to see how much focus we had as a UN body on ocean, and this one is born in ocean. So this inspiration went forward that we presented the paper of Tsunamica's story to UN, and we got selected. Last year, I did a presentation in 19th of November. For 90 minutes, the journey of Tsunamica was presented, and currently from across the country, more than 1,000 students are working on Clean Ocean Drive. And the best is that Ocean Drive work is going on in Rajasthan, where has no ocean. But this beauty of it, that everybody connects to Tsunamica and her journey of that she's very pompously claims that she's an ocean goddess. What I'm trying to bring out a point over here is a creative narrative. We all live in our story, and today's narrative is what tomorrow's future would be. And what I see is if we craft an idea around empowerment, gets into exercising the power of building narrative, that goes very, very far. And what happened in her case that when thousands of women in coastline was devastated, there was so much of a death and destruction. And middle of that, this doll we begin to create for trauma counseling. An idea was to provide a space to release the pain for the women. And that started in 2004. I had no idea that in 2022, I will be still talking about that doll. For me, it was 1 year project, and it has to just go, shut shop, close, and okay, one project is over. She was meant to be something else. And a year after, 200 women, when life became a little bit settled, 200 women came to us and said, can I still make doll? I would love to make this doll. Can I get some livelihood out of it? And that made me create Tsunamica project, and we plan to build 1 million doll as a thank-giving gesture to all the people who came forward to support tsunami victims when help was needed. And I had no other reason. I didn't know why the hell one will make a doll. There should be some purpose to it. So the purpose was to be a thank-giving gesture, and it became a wildfire. Within a year, we completed 1 million doll. And I was very embarrassed as my team was figuring it out. What should we say now? 1 million doll story is over. So a graphic designer helped us in saying, okay, let me solve this issue here. And he wrote a line saying, more than 1 million doll, going around the world as a gesture of thanksgiving to people who have supported. So story continued. 200 women got their livelihood. And when we begin to distribute doll, we realized that there was something more to it. And there's one incident which was life-changing in Tsunamica's journey was a European guest in my studio. She, after presentation, she did not move, and she was just standing on the same spot I had left her. When I went back to check whether she was okay and she needed help, or I said something stupid, what happened that she was just still there. And when I went close to her, she was crying. And that was really, really scary, that I must have done something really silly. And she was holding this doll on her chest and saying, what a beautiful way to say that they are alive. What a beautiful way to say their fingers are working. And it woke me up. I couldn't do business plan of Tsunamica. It was not possible. What we were seeing it, if the doll has become larger than life, if people see and perceive her as a hope, who is rich enough to buy hope, and who is slimy enough to claim to sell hope. And Tsunamica ran on gift economy. We chose not to price her. We chose that it was impossible to do a business model around her. And we followed with the flow she pushed us into, and journey of Tsunamica began.
Uma, you've got 1 minute left. If you could just conclude, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patsy, for that reminder. So it just became a project which has been going on and on for all these years. We have chosen not to take money. It runs on contribution of the community. And today, Tsunamika has repositioned herself as an ocean goddess with a long baby hair and so on. So there's a lot of communication work or creative narrative and communication planning, icon building exercises going on. Apart from that, it's a livelihood project at the women still. It is running a training program in the schools for ocean and ecology and Clean Ocean Drive in India. And it is an India entry on UN page on Sustainable Development Agenda of point 14. So that's a story I'm presenting here. I'm really, really happy to be able to share that. And of course, I'm very proud mother of Tsunamika and truly honored that we were part of this journey and she continues to lead our life.
Thank you,
Anybody
Uma.
needs
That
it?
was fascinating.
Yeah, anybody needs, just get in touch. We will send you dots.
Thank you very much.
Thank
So
you.
interesting to hear how scraps of textile waste can become something so symbolic and positive. We'll move to questions at the end of the other speakers. So Shailini, are you ready to present now, or would you like to move to the next speaker?
Let me try, and if you have the slide, you can share that, but I'm not so sure whether I can.
Your screen share was working, ma'am, that time.
Yeah, but I can't. I'll get to that again.
Okay.
Is it not possible for somebody to find those slides? I sent it to you.
Shall we move to the next speaker and maybe find the
can you tell me the name of the presentation? Is it by your name?
It says, let me just find out what it says. Hang on.
Yeah.
It says Pink City and Shailini.
Okay.
I think in the interest of keeping to time, we're going to have to move to the next speaker
sure,
now, and hopefully we'll have time to do yours at the end, Shailini. So next up, I'd like to warmly welcome Professor Rocío Martín, whose specialism is architecture, culture and design from the Toledo School of Architecture at Castilla-La Mancha University in Spain. Thank you very much, and going to present on the community sense of the common in India.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for that introduction, and namaste you all. So I'm just going to talk about the transformation through common grounds in the Indian architecture. I know it's a little bit disconnected with the textile and the fashion design industry, but still pertinent.
Would you like to go to full screen, please, Rocío, if you can do that?
Absolutely.
Show the slides as full screen.
Ma'am, click on this play button. There is a green play button that would work.
Let me just, I'm so sorry about this.
No problem at all.
Okay. So again here, there's a full screen button. Where exactly? I'm sorry.
Not really.
Right.
If you right click, it gives you.
Don't worry. I think it's fine to do it like this for the in the interest of keeping to time. Just go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, I believe that's priority. Right now. Okay. So basically speaking about the changes in the Indian architecture, obviously they are reciprocal. India's rich cultural heritage is vanishing due to the influence of urbanization and globalization. This is the core statement of this research. It's been inspired by the 13th century poet Saint Giandef, who created a children's game based in squares and ladders, where one could move ahead faster, and the whole game is representing moksha or nirvana. As the game progressed, various actions were supposed to take you up and down the board as in life. So all this purpose-based game was completely distorted the moment this was interpreted by the colonial Riccha at the time. Space and human behavior is very much framing the object of this study, and as this link exists in two senses. First, in sense of an understanding of behavior according to cultural patterns, and second, in the sense that the forms, once they are built, are affect or have an impact on the behavior and way of life. It is thus necessary to become aware of some of the socio-cultural facts and their meaning of ancient civilizations, as we can acknowledge that architectural form originates from and expresses itself through the understanding of the human question embedded in its culture. From an anthropological point of view, we see how Western cultures raise institutions around the idea of the government's power, the social control, and the money-making. And in a Corbusian way, the living is simplistically reduced to a line management model presented as an order of day-to-day developed activities, the 5 cores of the modern movement. Meanwhile, we witness how the ancestral culture in India has built its institutions around the search for the understanding of life in all its full magnitude of existential dimensions. It is therefore required that we acknowledge a certain degree of acknowledgement over the foundations of the transformation of civilization, of the Indus Valley civilization in particular, is required. This civilization covered the pre-Harappan from the 7,000 before Christ years to post-Harappan diaspora dating from the 1,000 before Christ. So the colonial historians have repeatedly avoided, and by colonial I mean all, Spaniards and British and all, we all, have repeatedly avoided the east-west trajectory of Indian civilization. They fought an invasion myth from the west through the Eurasian steppes to intelligently contain the Vedic culture within the 2000 before Christ, when it was, as a matter of fact, dating from much earlier. The archaeology of the Indus Valley was therefore misinterpreted and decontextualized, and many of the attributions that are referring and pointing at the West, they actually require being credited to the East, in particular to India. This study is therefore aiming for a contribution to building the foundations and reorienting the architectural discourse in order to promote a systemic thinking that fosters respect for the social, intangible values offered by design in Eastern architectural and environmental spaces. The focus being inhabited environment, setting the eye on the differential aspect in the understanding of qualitative orders of the space in the socio-cultural dwelling in India in comparison to the most modern so-called Western ones. Thus exploring the sense of community in India through architecture and the inhabiting of a society, flowing throughout a sequence of spaces which are most usually organized by gradients of intimacy, understood in a spiritual and even metaphysical fashion, and the dissolution of the inside-outside limits as per their own well-rooted philosophy. We have already tackled on the matter of saying that the modern city form follows a law based on control. Temples in India are a special representation of gradients understood from the public to the most intimate, the sacred, which is represented as a small and secluded space towards oneself inside, is not a grandiose or magnificent, nor external and indifferent to oneself's phenomenon, but rather focusing inwards. On the matter of cultural, so-called critical regionalism, we have Sonis and Lefebvre and Frampton, big names who have already made few statements. However, it is far from being a holistic or inclusive perspective, the one that counts in their approaches. since this is not really achieving to expose, not even explain, the 360 degrees panoramic displayed by so many exemplary statements of architecture, systems, and inhabited environment. This is the traditions of a great human civilization rely or have their epicenter in India itself. The signs of yantras have been unearthed dating from the Harappan times, if not earlier. In these temples that are actually covered in this study, we have found the astronomical basis continuing in the architecture of these temples until the classical age. Also symbolic and remarkable facts, such as the number of years in the precessional period of the earth, has been found and reflected in these temples' layouts. The courtyard system in the West has the square system as a reference. Mediterranean cities of 2,500 years ago were delineated by hieroglyphs, flagged on the ground that demarcated the territory between the known, separating it and protecting it from what was feared, and it was unknown and not controlled. This grid was replicated in Iberoamerica over centuries and in more than 4,000 cities built by Spaniards. This pattern of a Spanish city in Iberoamerica has a center that replicates the Roman model of the West. So I want to display the courtyard system in the West has the square system as a reference, as said. In the Roman model city, this organization displays this center as a square itself, and where we can find the governor, right, the palace of the governor, and the hall, the city hall, the prison, the church, and the market. So all the forces of power. It was in the beginning a square, then it further developed into a circle as geometry progressed, or geometry-based knowledge progressed. So basically, thanks to the acquired chord technique, which was basically trying to follow or depict the Fibonacci sequence. So all the Western-based examples are somehow displaying or showing off the knowledge of geometry. The Pantheon of Rome is a perfect example of segregation and division in the Western line of thought. It is said to be dedicated to all gods. That's the very meaning of the word pan, representing the whole and the perfect sphere. However, the challenge of closing that sphere—
1 minute left, thank you.
Oh, so sorry. We're moving ahead. Okay, so the Pantheon is the best example of that delineation, right, of what is known and what is unknown, which is basically, right, the way the architecture in the Western world has been manifested. By contrast, and according to the Veda, the temple and the town should mirror the cosmos. This is what the Veda principles say. And we find constructed open spaces in the East understood as a space open into the sky and ordered by the man according to magnetic gravitational laws. It is therefore, right, concluding, it is therefore clear that the understanding of the common space and the communitarian cohabitation through the program packets in architecture presents the space as a common space around Brahma, being disorder in the collective mind or way of thinking in the Eastern world, particularly in India, and thus present in both the public and the private. So these patterns resulted in a strong social binding within the community, as opposed to the individual-based identity built throughout the years and centuries in the West. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We'll take questions at the end of the session. I'd now like to move on to the next speakers. Shailini, are you ready to speak now, or do you want to go at the end? You're on mute.
You have found my slideshow, then I'm quite happy to go ahead.
Do you have the slideshow?
No?
No, okay. Let's go to Ratika and Ricca, and maybe we can find the slideshow in the meantime. So next up, I'd like to welcome sisters and owners of Cauldron, Sisters Food consultants and cookbook authors who are going to talk about moving towards a zero waste kitchen and how to identify sustainable food management practices for commercial kitchens. Welcome, Ratika and Ricca. Do you have a presentation that you want to share?
Thank you so much, ladies. And let me start with.
Can I just interrupt 1 second? Shailini ma'am,
Yes,
we are trying to call you on your mobile. Can you please take that call once?
sure.
So we'll just get this presentation sorted. Please continue, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. I am Ratika from Cauldron Sisters, a brand that I started with my sister, Riccha, in 2015. We started as home chefs, and now we are food consultants, menu and recipe curators. I welcome you all to this little talk about how we can together create a zero waste kitchen and make the food industry more sustainable at home, college, and our workplaces. Did you know worldwide more than 1.3 billion tons of food gets discarded every year? It means thousands of dollars go to waste annually as well. Thanks to our dear friend Ms. Archana Surana for this opportunity, who believes that everything around us is a kind of design and has a scope to be planned in a better way to live a more sustainable life. Understanding food wastage bifurcation. Avoidable food, unavoidable waste, potentially avoidable food waste. So we've got all three bifurcations, which can easily help us in identify where help is actually needed. To make things easier to understand, we spoke to 10 restaurants in Jaipur city about their cooking and storage patterns, also about consumer consumptions, and ultimately affect their food practices. Our purpose was to understand the situation in a growing city like Jaipur and how wastage can be reduced in commercial kitchens. As I continue this presentation, I want each one of you to ask yourself if you make sure the food you order don't go to waste, if you finish the entire portion that's served to you, and if you get the leftovers back. Now, when we talk about the methodology, sadly, 4 out of 10 restaurants in the city told us that they don't follow any zero waste kitchen policies. It means that the food you leave on the table in such restaurants and the extra food they cook in their kitchens go to the dustbins. It's painful information considering many homeless people and roadside animals have not enough food to eat on a daily basis. In 2019, me and Riccha worked closely with Feed India, and there we discovered that every day, size of UK's population, the food used to feed a UK's population is wasted in India every single day. A majority of these restaurants have claimed to use menu engineering to save food wastage. Now, what is menu engineering if you talk? It's a method to evaluate the restaurant's profit based on the pocket-friendly food they provide on the menu. We promote the use of local produce, do not cook big chunks, do not have good relations with co-traders who might use your surplus. Also, 30% of these restaurants say that they intentionally serve small portions so that everything that's put on a table gets fully consumed. That's the survey we took. These were the questions where they were judged on. From this bar chart, we can see the culture of recycling the extra food, composting the food waste, and donating the leftovers is still not fashion in our city. With this, I hope the trend would soon change and we will become more responsible as a tourist place, leading with better examples for smaller cities. While 50% of these restaurants we spoke to know about composting the food waste, they may or may not choose to practice it. 60% of them said that they've turned a blind eye on the current situation of India's Food Waste Control Act. 60% of them claim to keep a check on the food waste at their joints. The rest of 40% may or may not have taken anything seriously. So we have some options how they should source their materials. Robin Hood Army is doing a great work. Even in COVID, they were collecting leftover food. Within minutes, they come when you approach them, and the food is given to better needy people. So then we have we must start awareness programs. We must have strict laws. We must train. The design that me and Riccha we suggest, we have to stand out as a better place when it comes to wastage of food and create a design module for all these restaurateurs, cafes, or any eateries, so that excess food is utilized in a better way apart from ending in dustbin. Let's now quickly see what kind of steps we can take personally to take the design a zero waste lifestyle. First, let's make ourselves aware. What exactly are we doing today? What's my input in reusing the surplus? Second, incentive programs. We have to encourage the organizations who have to follow these practices, else penalties have to be laid. Another idea is, again, repeating myself, we need to train the staff at restaurants, at our homes, so that they manage stuff well and least goes to waste. Thank you. I hope I was able to create some value in your life with this little discussion. I'd like to hear more from you. Please activate.
Thank you, Ratika. Beautiful presentation, very interesting and really topical issue that we need to solve. I'm now going to ask Shailini, are you ready and have you found your slide deck?
Yes, ma'am. I will be sharing on ma'am's behalf.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have her presentation.
Thank you. Welcome, Shailini.
Sorry about the confusion and the delays.
No problem at all.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen.
Thank you. So I'm going to be talking about Indian textile and our long and rich history of Indian textile and how we can work with reducing the carbon footprint and what is the relevance. I start my story around pandemic. We all have gone through that traumatic experience where as a human to human, we can't even touch each other or hold the hand of somebody who is suffering, and meeting, consoling, all those aspects that we have always called as a kind of human values. We have sort of lost them around that time, and we start questioning that what are we doing? How come we have become so away from the humanness of us? And that made us all think about what we are, where we are going, what has happened to us. And many people felt at the time that the situation that we have been has been because we've been living more away from the nature, not respecting nature and the greenery and the air. And I think the whole understanding and questioning started happening to many people. So one of the things that I have said that by the time this new normal happens, I wish we do not forget the lessons that this abnormal during the pandemic has taught us. Next. So that bring us to the SDG goals and the environmental climate change issues that we have all been through, and those need and urgency to act upon it became more and more crucial. And we include the 5 key elements of people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership, and 3 pillars of sustainable development, that is economic, social, and environmental. So more and more people have realized that that is the way forward, that we should be really focusing on the climate change, carbon footprint, and the sustainability goals. Next one. I just wanted to give some kind of a balanced view about it, that, you know, that in spite of all those kind of protests and all those kind of insinuations started happening about India not being so conducive to climate change. So I just wanted to show that historically our contribution has been very, very low compared to other countries, Western countries. So in 2019, the scale of emission is 2.88 CO2 gigatons compared to 10.6 gigatons in US and 5 gigaton in China. So our consumption has been very low, but it is because we are a lot of people, and also that we need to grow. We need to tackle so many of our problems with education, with poverty, with food growing. So we really need to, in spite of all the kind of a comparison, we need to really do something more to it. The next one. Now, how does that start with the textiles, you would ask? Let me just go back to the story of Indian textiles. In India, thousands of years, the cotton was sort of grown as a kind of a rain-fed crop without any chemicals or any other water consumption and all that. And making fabric, spinning the yarn, weaving the yarn, dyeing, printing, all those things were taken to be kind of a homegrown activity. It was kind of a third pillar of the rural economy, apart from farming and animal husbandry. And in there, the depth of knowledge and depth of craft that were there were incredible. And we were like, it's like an IT hub now, like what it is like California and all that. With the IT, we were like that at the time in terms of the textiles. We had that much of a development and the growth. And these diverse clothings were worn by the local people, and that really gave a lot of livelihood, stability, and the satisfaction of being the craft people. The next one. This is a very old map of India that, after clothing our people, all the new crafts that the community were producing were sent out through the traders, along with pearls and spices. And we were one of the biggest international trading community. And these fabrics, etc., were sold in those countries like Egypt and Arabia, Iran, Africa, Lanka, also in the Far East. And it earned a lot of wealth for the Indians. And that most interesting part of that was that because it was a rural-based community, the money got distributed in the rural area. And that is one of the reasons why India was called the golden bird, Sone ki Chidiya. It became our society wealthy and rich and confident. The next one. Things changed in the 18th century with the mills, and the mills, lots of innovations of different machineries and all that happened in England. And at that time, it completely changed the whole textile trade, which used to be a democratic trade. In there, it turned into a completely different form. In America, the big cotton farms, slaves used to be brought from Africa and other countries. And behind this whole cotton boom lays a trading triangle, and lots of issues like racism, slavery, inequality, all those seeds were sown during that time, and we are still suffering the consequences of all of that even now. So it brought a lot of economic wealth, but it got centered around few rich people, and everybody else suffered. So the whole complexion of textile industry had changed around that time. Next one. So the coming back to the Indian situation, in India, Mahatma Gandhi started the movement of Khadi, which is hand-spun, hand-woven fabric, as a protest against the mill fabric, which was imposed upon us by the British at the time. And so it really changed the understanding and awareness to people, that it made people of India and the world aware of the ethical side of what one wears. And Khadi production was one of the earliest examples of fair trade. And it can also be seen as a kind of a victory of handmade over the mill-made. And the awareness of the values of these experiments and this work that the whole community picked up was accepted by lots of people even now. And the strength of a thin strand of cotton became a big symbol of Swavlamban, Swabhiman, and independence. Of course, the times have changed, and in the last 60, 70 years, yeah, you can go to the next one. Yeah. Time has changed, and the world has gone back. Or I mean, apart from that experiment, the world has gone back to the mill fabric, and then came the synthetic, and then came the chemically fed cottons and all of that. And the textile industry has started being called as a fashion industry, and it is becoming more and more. I mean, one can say that it has become so uncaring of the environment and of the people. One can say that the color of the rivers would tell you the fashion trend of like it is the color of the river is yellow. The fashion trend of the next year is going to be yellow, because all the dyes would go into it, and there was no concern. Even if human rights were not really respected. So in the last 60, 70 years, saw the rise of consumerism and greedy capitalism, and clothing prices were still sort of kept more or less the same. But unfair practicing of violating human rights and uncaring and unscrupulous way of using the environmental elements and all of that. So it has become really gone to the stage where people started wearing more and more clothes. It is said that about 400% number of clothes have sort of increased in the last few years, because people have, it's become a kind of shopping therapy, and people have stopped doing what they do. Okay, the next one. Amongst all of that, I think what the pandemic has taught us, that the artisans do matter, their values, we need to really take care of that. And people have sort of come back to the handmade again, understanding that that is closest to the nature, is closest to the environment. And it is one of the most carbon neutral way of fabric producing. Next slide. So we realized that we have to really consider going back to our roots and promoting a handmade fabric as a much bigger share in the textile industry rather than the mill-made and the power loom. And there is an alternative. We are probably one of the very few countries where those skills are still available. So transition from handwoven away from the power loom and the machine, I think should be really encouraged, because it reduces the carbon footprint and it supports the community. The next one. So the textile story that is emerging now from India, that brings together the business strategy, design thinking, execution, exclusive ownership of the capital, and can create the employment without costing the earth. And that is the way I think our textile industry should move. The policy should be made accordingly, and we should be going towards that one, the last one. So we believe that we have sort of turned a full circle, and it looks like we are turning full circle from handmade, which brought the glory to our country and our wealth, or going back to the handmade in that kind of a context. And we have to respect our artisanal products. We have to respect working with nature, respect working without exploiting the environment and supporting the community. So we think that we have a very strong case of creating the low carbon future in the textile industry. And India is the second largest production, and our actions do matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting and really relevant with everything that's going on now. Thank you to all of our presenters. We have about 7 minutes left for questions. Do we have any questions or feedback or discussion points from any of our audience today? You can type in the chat if you'd like to, or you can come on. Well, I don't think you can come and speak, but you can type in the chat if you have any questions. Ricca, yes, do you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I would like to thank Uma ji for coming up with this beautiful doll. And I just want to let her know that in 2006, I visited Pondicherry with my college trip, and I brought back her daughter with me. And I thank her for giving us hope, and I'm glad to be part of that hope. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Biljana, welcome. Do you have a question or a comment? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Patsy. It's great to be here, and it's really beautiful to hear this great presentation despite the technical problems. Yeah, really congratulations, ladies, for your work. And I must share with you that I feel the same like the lady crying that Uma told us. It's really heart-touching story. And I think it could be used much more in the future all around the planet. So Uma, thank you for your work and congratulations. That was really beautiful. Thank you so much. Yes, also Ratika and Riccha, yeah, congratulations on your work. Thank you. It was a really nice presentation and yeah, completely enjoyable. Rocío, also interesting, a lot of like story to be discussed, yeah, close to my area also, and it was nice. And yeah, I think you need more time to talk about that. It's a hot topic also. And Shailini, thank you so much. Do not stress about the technical problems. That is normal when it's the conferences are online. So congratulations on your work also, and it was a really amazing thing that you're doing, and we can learn from you a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Biljana.
Thank you.
Uma, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I would like to say thank you especially to Shailini to make such an impressive presentation and so inspiring. We know each other for more than almost 1.5 decades. And every time she speaks, it gives me so much inspiration. And I myself have been working in conscious clothing for many, many years, but Shailini, this is incredible what you hold, and you continue to inspire us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Uma. Your stories are equally inspiring, and I wanted to share that I have about 50 of your daughters with me, and I give it with pride to a lot of my friends and narrating the story. And it is so wonderful that the Tsunamika is alive and getting bigger and becoming a kind of a goddess. So, and so are you. So I'm really, really proud of you as well for what are you doing. So I'm really, really impressed. Thank you so much for all your kind words. And I really enjoyed listening to all the presentations. And as I said, it would be so nice to meet up and, you know, have a chat and talk about it. But anyway, this is wonderful. And thank you so much, the design school, to arrange this. And I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It was great to hear your innovative ideas. I'm sure all the viewers enjoyed as much as I did.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Some really interesting and thoughtful perspectives there. And it is wonderful to hear voices from other parts of the world to kind of build our knowledge around what we're doing around sustainability in all of its various perspectives. That I think was very much a focus of the 4 presentations today. So really fascinating for me to hear more about what's going on in other parts of the world that we need to be, you know, conscious of and include in our knowledge building. So good luck with your further research and good luck with your ventures, and yeah, really fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you for giving us this chance.